Thank you for your interest in Missouri's Special Education State Performance Plan and Annual Performance Report process. This is the complete list of SPP indicators. This presentation will cover Indicator 5 on school-age educational environments or least restrictive environments. A goal for special education is that students be included in the regular education setting to the extent appropriate in order for the students to access the general education curriculum. This is often referred to as the least restrictive environment, or LRE. Indicator 5 measures LRE in 3 parts for children in grades kindergarten through grade 12. A is the percent of children with IEPs served inside the regular class 80% or more of the day. B is the percent of children inside the regular class less than 40% of the day. C is the percent of children in separate schools, residential facilities, or homebound hospital placements. The data source is student-level data that is reported by school districts to DESE as of December 1st each year. This is the complete list of educational environments for school-age students. The ones in green are included in the 3 parts of Indicator 5 as noted. The ones in blue are included in the denominator of the calculations, meaning that 5A plus 5B plus 5C won't add up to 100%. This slide shows a list of professional development and resources that are related to or would support school districts in educating students in their least restrictive environments. You can request additional information on any of these by sending an email to the address at the end of this presentation. This chart shows the percent of students in the 3 areas for Indicator 5 for the past 5 years. The blue line shows that about 57 to 58% of students with disabilities are inside the regular class 80% or more of the day. These students are spending most or all of their day in the regular classroom. The orange line shows that 8 to 9% of students with disabilities are inside the regular class less than 40% of the day. These students are spending most of their day in a special education classroom. The gray line shows that about 3.5% of students are placed in separate settings outside of a regular school district. While the goal is to increase the number and percent of students in the regular class, we've seen very little change in these categories over the past several years. This chart shows the percent of students in the various educational environment categories by disability category. Looking at the heights of the blue segments across the disability categories shows us that there's a wide variability in the percentages of students spending most of their time in the regular classroom. This chart shows the percent of students in Indicator 5 areas by various grade spans. Children in kindergarten through grade 2 are more likely to spend more time in the regular class than older students. On this graph, called the scatter plot, each dot represents one school district. The placement of the dot indicates the special education child count in the district and the percent of those students inside the regular class more than 80% of the day. For example, the dot on the right top represents a district that had about 2,850 students in special education, and almost 80% of them were in the regular class most of the day. The red line represents a possible target for Indicator 5A. Each dot above the red line represents a district that would meet or exceed the target, and each dot below the red line would be a district that would not meet the target. The orange box on the lower left of the graph shows districts that would not meet the target but had a fairly small child count. The scatter plot gives a visual on the number of districts that would need to increase the number or percent of students in the regular class in order to impact overall results for the state. This chart shows actual data for Indicator 5A for 2017 through 2021 in the blue bars. The proposed target options are represented by the colored lines on the chart. The first option, A, is the orange line that shows an increase before flattening out. Option B is the gray line that shows a steady increase through 2025-26. Option C, the yellow line, has a faster increase than option A, but then flattens out. There's a link to the feedback survey at the end of this presentation. Please let us know which of these target options you prefer, or use the other option to propose different targets. This scatter plot is similar to the earlier one for 5A, except that we want 5B percents to be lower. The districts below the red line would meet the target, while those above the red line would not. Again, this gives a sense of how many districts would need to increase student time in the regular class in order to impact the state data. This shows actual data for indicator 5B for 2017 through 2021 in the blue bars. The first target option A is the orange line that shows a slight decrease through 2020, 25, 26. Option B is a gray line that shows a little more of a decrease over time. Option C, the yellow line, has a faster decrease but then levels out. Please use the feedback survey to let us know which target option you prefer, or use the other option to propose different targets. This shows actual data for indicator 5C in the blue bars. The first target option, A, is the orange line that stays flat until it decreases in 2026. Option B is a gray line that shows a bigger decrease over time. Option C, the yellow line, also has a decrease but then levels out. In thinking about these options, pay attention to the scale of the chart. The decreases appear large, but they are really just 2 or 3/10%. The reason for the small proposed decreases is that students in Missouri School for the Blind, Missouri School for the Deaf, and Missouri Schools for the Severely Disabled are included in this category. These programs have extensive eligibility checks to ensure that the students could not be better served in their home district. Other separate settings are included in this category as well, but there may be limited ability to decrease numbers or percentages. Please use the feedback survey to let us know which target option you prefer, or use the other option to propose different targets. The feedback survey also asks 3 important questions about improvement activities. Please help us identify what's working, what's not working, and what we can do to help improve results for students with disabilities so that the state and local school districts can meet the targets we are setting for the future. We need your feedback. Click on the SurveyMonkey link on this slide to go directly to the survey, or you'll find these indicator recordings and feedback surveys on the SPP APR Stakeholder Information webpage. Questions about this process should be emailed to speddata@desi.mo.gov. Thank you so much for your time and participation.